All right, Billy. So anytime we want to make corrections in our swings, we always want to make sure that we follow the order of grip, body, swing. You really want to put that and burn that in your brain anytime you're struggling with a stroke, like an overhead or an approach shot or a volley or your backhand. It's always grip, body, swing. So the first thing to check is always the grip. And then after the grip is correct, and each stroke really has their own unique grip, and you need to learn those, then you work on the body position. You know, are you turning sideways enough? Things like that. Your feet positioning. And then you can start to work on the swing, because the swing is built on the foundation of the grip and the body. And really the grip and the body dictate which swing will be used, believe it or not. And so it's really important that we address grip first. And I believe I did this with Kim's grip as well, and her serve. We talked about how the first thing that she did, and you're doing it as well, is you're always bouncing the ball with your racket. So you bounce the ball with your hand, then you bounce it with your racket, and then you go to serve. And anytime somebody does that, they always use a forehand grip. It's really the grip that a player would use when hitting a forehand. That could be an Eastern grip, it could be a semi-Western, depending on the bevel your hand is on. But all we know is that the grip that we want to use is a continental, and I'll show you that on court. But when I go back on court, but the grip that you're using now is really causing all of the other problems, from the low toss to where your body is facing, your inability to hit as fast a serve as I know you would like, your ability to hit spin. You know, it's really important that you're able to spin the ball. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to address the grip. So let me just, I think I've showed you this before, but let's just check it out here. So I'm going to show you your right palm. So I want you to look at your right palm. That's your thumb, your index finger, your middle finger, your ring finger, your pinky, right? So this is your thumb. Man, that's a really bad hand, but this is your palm, right? You're looking at your palm. I just got rid of it. Give me a second. The treacherous nature of live recording. All right, so we've got the knuckle of your, the base knuckle of your index finger, and then your heel pad. And again, I'll draw this on my hand, and you'll be able to see this. But there's a straight line from the base knuckle of your index finger to the corner of your hand, called your heel pad. So that line, Billy, needs to go on to bevel number 2. So over here, I'm going to draw the bottom of the grip. The grip is an octagon. So I'm just going to draw an octagon. I think in the 300 video lessons I've ever done, I think that's the best octagon I've ever drawn. So this is bevel 1, bevel 2. It's just the flat side. Bevel 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, the bevel you need to worry about on the serve is bevel 2. So this flat side right there, that flat 45-degree angle, by the way, each bevel is 45 degrees, right? It's 360 degrees divided by 8. So each bevel is 45 degrees. So if you're one bevel off, right? If your hand is positioned on this bevel, and I'll show you what I mean by that. If your hand is positioned on that bevel, you're 45 degrees off with your racket face. And so that's a big problem, right? It's like playing golf and you completely pick the wrong club, and you wanted to pick a 9-iron and you pulled out a 3-iron, you know, from your bag. I mean, it changes the club face so much. It's the same thing. When you change the way your hand is on the racket, you're completely changing the racket face. And so it either opens doors for you, or it really closes the door and doesn't allow you to do certain things with the ball. And so the first thing we got to do is we got to make sure that you are using bevel number 2. So this line on your hand has to go onto bevel number 2, and it'll line up, and I'll show you that on court. So grip is essential, and making sure that you don't bounce the ball. Like I'll show you when I bounce it only with my hand. Because the correct grip, which is what I have, continental, my knuckle and heel pad are on bevel number 2, the correct grip doesn't really allow you to bounce the ball with the racket. This is why you see pros bouncing the ball with their hand, and why you see amateur players and club and recreational competitive adults and juniors, they bounce the ball with their racket because they're using a grip that you really don't want to have, but it does actually allow for you to bounce a ball. So then the brain figures that out, and it's like, oh, I'll bounce the ball with my racket too. It's pretty much a dead giveaway that the person has a grip that really isn't in their best interest. So the next thing I want to show you has to do with your feet. Now, this is going to be a little easier to see from the back view, but I actually want to show you what your left foot does, because I'm going to show you the side view here and then the back view and reiterate everything we talked about here on the side view. But I want to show you what your left foot does. You know, everything is connected, and I want you to watch how during your serve, your toe, which is pointing this direction, which is great, your toe changes and goes to facing more forward. And then, so I want you to watch this. Watch your toe. Let me get rid of that arrow. Watch. See your foot turn? And you actually foot fault. You do it every time. So you step onto the line. But that is occurring because of your grip. So you have a forehand grip. You have a grip that you would use on a forehand, like Roger Federer's forehand, right? And so that's not the grip that Roger Federer uses on a serve. What you're doing with the beginning of your serve, and you can see our toes are the same. Our toes are pointing the same direction. It's diagonally off the court. The problem is, this is correct, but your grip is not what you want. Well, you can see they need to match. You either want, and I use red for not right, and I use green for correct, if you've ever noticed that with any of the video lessons I've done for you or Kim. So what you want is you want to have either both of them wrong or both of them correct, right? It's like mathematics. You either want to multiply two positives or you want to multiply two negatives, both of which are a positive. If one's a negative and one's a positive, it doesn't work. So one of them has to conform. And so what happens is your body knows that it needs to really swing straight toward the court based on the grip. So to alleviate any pressure on your knee, your toe moves. So it is going to be really important that, and so your body starts facing more forward, which is going to lead to you not being able to hit the ball very hard, not being able to spin the ball. It's going to be really important that we don't allow this to happen, and that you practice. And I'm trying to give you, small details that you look for because I want you to film yourself, right? I don't want to be the only one who's noticing these things. Little tiny details like the grip will then show little tiny details in the feet. Now, the problem is if we fix your grip, Billy, but then you're still making, look at your front toe. If you're still making that move, your serve will never go in the box. And you'll be like, this Ryan doesn't know what he's talking about, right? And I don't want that to happen. So I need to really address all of these issues. I want you to notice, watch my foot. Watch how I actually almost turn the toe more toward the camera. See this? Here my toe is facing this way. Now watch. Now it's facing this way. Maybe not that much. I want to be really honest. There, right? I actually turn more toward the camera. Again, that's available to me because of the grip. Because of your grip, you actually point your toe more toward the net. So it's really important that we don't allow this to occur, but that we get this to stay. Again, the grip and the body are the foundation the swing is built on. And the feet are like the subfloor of the body. So you can take each category, grip, body, swing, and you can break them up into smaller categories. There are actually smaller categories to the grip. But it's the same thing. Grip, body, swing. When it comes to the body, we want to make sure, especially on the serve, that the feet are correct. So the next thing is and there's something I want to show you on the back view that's going to be easier to see from the back view when it comes to your feet. The next thing is going to be your toss. Now your toss is extremely low. And I don't want to change too much about your toss. I do want you to toss higher. I'm going to show you, because we haven't even gotten to the swing yet. All we're doing is grip, body, and then swing. But on the serve, we do have to address the toss if the toss needs to be addressed. I want to show you my contact. I'm actually lifting off the ground, so you can see I'm in the air. I'm not going to ask you to jump right now, but I just want you to notice, obviously I'm jumping and I'm reaching high. And so this is right after contact. And here's my arm, and here's my racket. And so you can see there, it's very much a straight line. The arm and racket are very much in a straight line, where you can see yours. So this angle between your arm and the racket, again, is based on the grip. Players who use a forehand grip, Billy, will always contact the ball too low, because if they swung up, the ball would really always go out. So they actually have to pull down as they hit the ball. And I wasn't sure who said it. It might have been someone, a coach or, I don't know, a friend. But I was watching your video and the sound was on, and the person suggested for you to toss higher. And it was a great suggestion, right? Like, we definitely want you to toss higher. But again, everything is grip, body, swing. And so the grip and the body actually force the toss and the swing to be incorrect, because the grip and the body positioning right now aren't in your best interest. So it's really important, if the middle domino in a row of dominoes where you tip them over, if the middle domino is not falling, it's usually not the middle domino's fault. It's a domino that was supposed to fall before it, whether the first domino or the second domino or the third domino. So you have to go as early as possible in the whole process and start fixing issues from the beginning, and then issues in the middle and at the end will actually cure themselves. Are we fixing symptoms, or are we really fixing the cause? And a lot of players, like a low toss, that's a symptom of the grip and the body. So I am gonna ask you to toss higher, and you'll know that you're contacting higher by looking for a more continuous line between the arm and racket, rather than, it's not, well, let's see, actually, I have a tool that's gonna allow us to look at the angle. Let's see what you got. Wow. Yeah, that's a big, right? We're looking for 180, right? We're looking for 180. And so you can see how close I am to that. And so that's, you want to be as close to 180 as possible. It's kind of impossible to get to 180, but you want to be as close as possible to that point. So we've got the better grip, right? So if we can get your better grip, we can get you, and from the back, I'm going to show you something a little different that I haven't showed you from the side, but it's easier to see from the back, from the body's position. But we're going to make sure that front foot does not go forward and point forward. And we're going to make sure that we work on you tossing higher. All right, now let's begin with the swing. We got the grip, we got the body. There's a little tiny category toss when it comes to the serve. And now the swing. Now, I want you to notice how you separate your hands. So it's a very minor detail. Watch this. See that? See how the racket and ball are together, and the ball goes down. Sorry, give me a second. The ball goes down without the racket. See how they separate? I want you to watch my racket and ball. See how they're going back? They're both going down together. The ball is going down and the racket is going down together. There's no separation. I want you to do that. When you separate, here they're together, and then the racket goes up and the ball begins going down. When you separate, all of a sudden now you've lost a connection between the left side of your body and the right side of your body. And players your level, I have found enormous success helping players your level with this little tiny tip of making sure that the ball and racket go down together. So what I do is I actually place the throat of the racket. the triangle, I place it on the ball. So the racket is actually resting on the ball. For you, there's no connection, and so it's hard to feel the rhythm and the coordination of the beginning of the serve. So I really want you to make sure that you are dropping, as I'm doing here, the racket and ball down together. The next thing I want to show you is after I drop, my racket goes across my feet into the back. So I basically draw a smiley. Like let me draw it like this. So that's basically what I draw. Right? Let me see if I can get it even better. I like being as precise as possible. Not quite. Let me just draw a little mark back here. So you can see, I mean, like, right? It's like a smiley face, right? So what we want is for you to draw that smiley. Now you have a straight back line. So you go like this. And so what happens is you really have no way of using a throwing motion. It's almost like you're shooting a free throw. You almost have a free throw motion right here, where it's just you're kind of pushing at the ball. It's why you can't serve very fast. I mean, you can, but we just need to use a different motion. You're going to have to go across your, let me make it green. You're going to have to go across your feet and go all the way back here. You can see you begin that position. You can see you and I from here to here look very similar. And then I keep going across my shins and then have the racket in the back, where you take a shortcut. Realize our rackets are in a very similar place right here. The problem is my racket is going this way. Your racket is going this way. So it actually changes how you can swing because, yes, we're in the same place, but our rackets are traveling different directions. And so it's really important that we get your racket going this way to get there rather than going this way. Where you are is fine, right? If I showed you this, you'd be like, hey, we look pretty close. Like we look very similar. My strings are a little down, right? A little bit more down, but it's about how you got there. And the fact that you're going this way is killing you. You got to go across and then back. Now, that leads us to this second part, which is after you go across your feet, and I already mentioned it, after you go across your feet, you want your strings pointing down. And the reason is because it sets us up to use the proper throwing motion. When a quarterback is going to throw a football, palm is down. Baseball pitcher, palm is down. My palm is down. The palm is actually represented by the strings. The strings represent the palm. The strings tell you really where the palm is facing. And when you want the palm down as you throw a football, and then the elbow comes forward and the palm's to the side and you release the football, yes, you can see your palm is down here, but remember, you're going the wrong way. So, of course, your palm is going to be down as you begin right here. The problem is your racket needs to be back here. And you're going this direction, which then leads you to then opening up your palm. And now your strings are facing up. What should happen is the racket, looking on the right here, the racket, as you know, should pass in over the head like you're knocking off a birthday hat. So what we want to do is have the racket and ball come down together, go across your shins, then come back in over your head and knock off a birthday hat. Racket comes right in over the head, knocking off a birthday hat. So yes, if you haven't done it already, I'm going to require you to go out and wear a birthday hat. I want you to send me a video, Billy, of you wearing a birthday hat and knocking the birthday hat off. Again, look how right here, the tip of the racket is pointing right at the camera. I'm so far along in the swing the ball's in the air, I went across the feet, and here the tip of the racket is pointing right at the camera. That's a very late palm down, which is what you want. You want to stay at palm down as long as you can. And then that's what passes the racket in over my head. You can see that the racket is on the front side of my head. And that's because I was going this, It's because my racket was going this way. My racket was coming in over my head from back here. Your racket never goes to the front side of your head because of how you got there going this direction. It's the whole reason why we want to get back here so we can come in over the head, and then the racket makes this loop behind the head. The racket comes in over my head, knocking off a birthday hat. The natural result of that is you'll actually see the racket on the front side of my head. And if you just look at Milos Raonic hit a serve or Djokovic, like you'll see the racket on the front side of their head. That's because their racket went back here first, then comes in over the head. It makes it a true throwing motion. Now, when I'm going up to the ball, you can see it actually looks like I'm going to use the edge of my racket. It looks like I'm actually going to take the edge of my racket and hit the ball. Now, that's not what's going to happen, obviously. But my goal is that I'm trying to hit side spin on this serve. When you hit the ball, you're not thinking spin. And again, that's due to the grip. The grip that you have doesn't really allow for spin. It hits a very flat ball. What you want, Billy, is spin so that you can control the ball. Think of a bowler. No, I'm a terrible bowler, but I know that really good bowlers can spin the ball so that the ball, if they're right-handed, curves way out toward the right gutter and then curves back in, trying to hit the perfect angle in the pocket in order to knock all the pins down. When I bowl, I just bowl down the middle and I'm trying to like wave my arms and like I'm using bad language trying to get the ball to somehow hit the pins. But I know that players who know what they're doing or bowlers who know what they're doing, they curve the ball and that's how they control the ball. And so the ball leaves their hand, but they're still controlling it, if you know what I mean. That's the feeling that I have when I hit a serve or hit a forehand or hit a backhand. Yes, the ball is off my racket, but it still feels like I'm controlling it because I purposely used spin. It's going to be really important that we do this. You can see we're looking right now at the strings that I'm not going to use to hit the ball. We're looking at the strings that you are going to use to hit the ball, which means you're hitting a very flat hit. A little bit of backspin, actually, because you're pulling down. We talked about with the contact point of the low toss. You're actually pulling slightly down on the ball, so the ball spins backward. Your ball is spinning like this as it goes over the net. That's the opposite of topspin. The ball's spinning like that as it goes over the net. And so what we want is for you to learn side spin. And so we want the racket to have this look where the racket's on edge. I'm just trying to show you point by point, checkpoint by checkpoint, what I want you looking for in your own serve when you film yourself. Most players, they film themselves, they don't really know what to look for. I'm trying to give you everything you should be looking for. And you do this week after week, month after month. It's going to take a while for you to learn this. It's going to take you a couple months. It's middle of August right now. You want this. You want to own this by the new year. And that seems like a long time, right? Well, it was just Valentine's Day, right? And so if you would have started working on this on Valentine's Day, you would have owned it now. So it's time flies, right? And so it's not going to take a very long time for you to get this. Now, when you lead with the edge, you will then pronate. You can see my strings are now facing. We can see my palm. Notice we can see the grip in my hand. So here we're looking at the back of my hand. This is called supinated. I hit and I pronate, and now we're looking at my palm. The strings are facing directly toward the camera now. Here the strings are facing the fence way over there, that far fence four courts away. And here my palm is facing the camera. So my racket is actually flipped 180 degrees. I'm going to show you how to do that. You can see when you hit, we're actually now looking at the back of your strings. right? Here we're looking at the strings that I'm actually using to hit the ball. Here we're looking at the back of your strings. So you don't have pronation, and pronation is the fastest way to fire the forearm and the racket into the ball. And then the last thing I want to show you, and then we'll do the back view, is notice how I tuck my left hand into my up against my side, where notice your left hand just disappears behind you. It's really important to tuck your left arm. And by the way, what I just taught you there, tuck the left arm, you're going to work on that in about 2.5 months. You know what I mean? Like this, there are many things. I'm just basically add a week or a week and a half to everything that I taught you so far. And so you can see why we're at three months. But this is really the icing on the cake, right? The last thing you do on a cake is put the icing on it, right? But you plan on putting the icing on it, but it's not the first thing you do. And so what that does is it helps slow down the body's rotation, and the law of conservation of momentum says that something else has to speed up, and the racket will speed up. So anytime in a system you slow something down, you're going to speed something up. The momentum and the energy has to go somewhere. So it's a reactive break. So I follow through on my left side, you follow through on your left side, which is great. Let me show you from the back view now. And then I'm excited because I'm going to go on court and show you everything. So, all right, let's check out the back view, Billy. All right, so do you remember the order that we have to look at things, right? So do you remember what it is? Grip, body, swing. Grip, body, swing. So anytime you're looking at a stroke, that is the order that you'll go through. So the grip, here you are bouncing the ball, and that requires a forehand grip. And so you can see my strings are facing slightly up. There's a slight upward. Here's a better view of it. My racket is tilted like this, and my strings are facing slightly up. That is due to the grip being correct. You can see your strings are facing down. And so we want the grip to be a continental, which is your knuckle and heel pad on number 2. I'll show you that again on court. And so only bounce the ball with your hand, and with the correct grip, you should have this look. You should have your racket slightly open. So the next thing was your feet, right? And so you can see, let's look, see your left foot move? Look at your front foot now. See that little move? We're going to have to get rid of that, where your toe adjusts and now faces more towards your target. That's just leading you to using the wrong grip. And again, if we only fix your grip, but then I allow you to keep moving your foot like that, your serve's not going to go in. Yes, your grip will be right, but the serve won't be going in. And you can't buy match wins. You know, you can't be like, hey, can I win this match because my grip is right? You know, you got to be able to get the ball in the box. So having that toe do what it's doing is going to really hurt you if you try it with the continental. It actually doesn't hurt you now, not physically. I'm talking about hurt your chances. That's what I mean by that. It's not hurting you right now because the grip you have. It actually, the two negatives make a positive. When we fix your grip and don't fix your toe, then it's going to actually not work. You get a negative and a positive. That doesn't work. You either need both things wrong or you need both things right. You can't make changes in a singular manner. I always tell people that changes come in a marriage. So anytime whether it's protein, amino acid, and calcium and vitamin D, like things need to work together. You need two things to dance, right? It takes two to tango. And what happens is people make one change, but the problem is the negative part of what required them to make that change was being used in another way, whether it's their feet or their toss, so really tips always come in a marriage. Like if somebody gives you a tip, they should give you 2 tips or they should give you 4 tips. Once it gets to like 6 or 7 tips, then it can be an odd number. But if they're going to give you just 1 tip, no, it needs to be 2. Like something else needs to be addressed. Again, the calcium and vitamin D is a great example of that. So you can see my foot, we actually see the inside of the toe and of the shoe. And by the way, I'm serving on the do side. So you're pointing your toe at the box. I'm pointing my toe way over there, which is nowhere near the service box I'm trying to hit. So this is how sideways I'm staying to my target. What I was going to show you before is how forward you are. And I said this on the side view. I was going to show you something. Look how forward you are with your body. And notice we can never see your chest, but we can see my chest. And again, I'm serving to this box. You're serving to this box. If anyone's going to be facing toward their, only seeing the back, you would think it would be me because I've got to turn my body more to the left to hit to the left, but it's not. We should be seeing your chest right. If there's something written on your shirt, we should be able to see the front of your shirt. But because your toe faces forward, because of the grip you use, you're having to push the ball and like really push the serve rather than throw your racket. And that's leading you to having to face more towards your target. We talked about the toss. Here's a pretty low contact. Like I know you can reach higher than that. Here I'm coming off the ground. So I'm reaching as high as I can. Again, I'm not telling you to jump, but I do want you to reach much, much higher. And it'll be much easier to reach higher when you start making all the changes we're talking about. All right. So we worked on making sure that the racket and the hand do not separate. It's a little hard to see it from this view. That's why I like to do the side view first. You can see more from the side view. There are only very specific things you can see from the back. But we cannot see your tossing hand, so we can't see the separation. That's why I have to see the side view in order to help people. But you can see my racket swings across my feet. And right here, my racket's reaching toward the camera. I'm reaching back. You can see you don't reach back and go across your feet. You just lift your racket straight up. You flip the racket over so you kind of got what's called the waiter's tray, where your palm is facing straight up. Because I reach all the way back, now I've got my strings facing down. I'm wearing the birthday hat. So my racket's going to pass in over my head, knock off the birthday hat right there. This is what I was talking about before. Look at my racket. Look where the strings are facing. You're going to serve, and look where your strings are facing. Your strings are facing up. My strings are facing down to my left. This is called supinated, what I've got. It's a supinated position of the arm, meaning my palm is facing me. And so even here, it looks like I'm going to use the edge of the racket and just swing straight at the ball. What that requires is pronation. And pronation is that, which is now my strings are facing off to my right. You can see my hand. You can see the palm of my hand. So prior to hitting the ball, my strings were facing off to the left. After I hit the ball, my strings faced off to the right. And that's how you fire the racket at the ball. That's that acceleration you see the pros using, where the racket's trailing the hand, and all of a sudden the racket fires past the hand and accelerates much faster than the arm and body can move. That's that acceleration you see, where you can see you're just pushing and your strings go from facing up to facing down. We've got my left hand in my armpit. So you can see my left hand in my armpit. You can see your left hand is dropping down. So we definitely want to stick it in the armpit. I think the second time we went through here, right, it made a lot more sense because you already heard it from the side view. So we're going to work on the grip, making sure your feet are correct, making sure that you toss the ball higher so that you can reach higher. We're going to work on the racket and ball going down together, going across your shins and reaching back with the strings pointing down. We're going to knock off the party hat. And by the way, yes, you are going to go out and buy a party hat and you are going to serve, as I mentioned, and you must send me videos of you knocking off the birthday hat. Maybe you can send me a video that I could post on Instagram and it'll go viral and you'll get 100,000 followers. The The racket needs to come around on edge. I'm going to show you how to do that so that, you know, it actually encourages you to hit side spin so you can control the ball. Pronation, strings facing off to the left after contact or before contact, strings facing off to the right after contact. The visible tossing arm tucking against the body as a way to slow the body down to speed up the racket. And then the great follow through. So Billy, I'm really excited for you because you have a very minimalistic service motion, right? You're using a service motion that just kind of gets the ball in the box. And that you have so much room for growth. And not a lot of players who take lessons with me have that much room for growth. So you are actually going to have, in my opinion, the biggest increase in serve speed and ball curve, being able to curve the ball, of really anyone I've taught lately. So that's a great thing. So, all right, I'm going to see you on court, and trust me, my friend, I'm going to fix your serve.
All right, Billy, so the first thing is always the grip. I keep saying it over and over again. Grip, body, swing. So on my hand, we have the two places that you must worry about when it comes to a grip. The base knuckle of your index finger and your heel pad. So you have to draw a straight line between those two places. Let's talk about the grip itself. Anytime, first off, it's an octagon. And anytime you want to count the bevels on the octagon, you have to put the racket on its edge. Bevel number 1 is the very top bevel. Bevel 2 is the 45-degree angle bevel. That's the bevel we're going to be using today. And in fact, you can see I drew a straight line on the bevel. Bevel number 2, the continental. Bevel 3 is an eastern. Bevel 4 is a semi-western. These are two of the main forehand grips. The very bottom is full western, and then 6, 7, and 8 aren't really used by right-handers except for the left hand on the backhand. So what we have to do is we have to take that line and line it up on the line that is on the racket. Now again, bevel 2 is the top right 45-degree bevel. By the way, since you're right-handed, when we counted clockwise. So we're counting clockwise to the right. Lefties count to the left. Righties count to the right. 1 is on top. If you're going to sit on a stop sign, if you see someone sitting on a stop sign, they're sitting on bevel 1. And then just to the right of that is bevel 2. So I have to take that line on my hand and I have to line it up on bevel number 2. In fact, if I open up my hand when I'm holding the racket correctly, notice you cannot see the line on my hand. It is covered up by the racket. That's because when you hold, you don't want to be like this. Notice you can see the heel pad bevel, and you don't want to be like this. You can see the knuckle bevel, or spot I meant to say, for both of those. Here you cannot see either spot or the line because it's covered up. So everything starts from the grip. All of the inefficiencies that come in your body facing forward to being palm up and pushing the serve to the low contact point, those are all because of the grip. So you cannot make any changes and real substantial changes to your serve until you use this grip. So I just want to warn you. Let me grab some balls here. I want to warn you because when you start using this grip, this is what's going to occur. You're going to serve and the ball is going to go to the left every single time. In fact, you might even hit the edge. You might actually hit the metal of the racket, which is actually a drill I use for people later on in their development, and I'll show you that drill, by the way. But I want you to understand what's about to happen. You are about to hit the ball to the left over and over and over again, which leads us to the body positioning. And it leads us to understanding what is going to be happening with our feet. Because remember, you were facing forward. What I want you to do is I want you to be more sideways. Since we know the ball is going to go to the left because we've changed our racket face 45 degrees, and because each bevel is 45 degrees, 360 divided by 8, that's going to mean that the strings are now facing off to the left. So instead of facing forward with a forehand grip, pushing the ball over the net like this, now what we're going to be doing is having the correct grip, strings facing off to the left, so we need to turn our body this way. That way, to the left of me is the court. See, the grip and the body work together. So what you want to do is you want to hit serves. Let me make sure the camera hasn't moved. Nothing is funky. I'm actually going to, give me 1 second. Just want to make sure everything is good. Okay, good. What I want you to do, Billy, is I want you to get nice and close to the net. I actually want you to serve from up here. And I want you to turn your body like you're going to serve to the next court. And I just want you to make sure you have the correct grip, and you can even start up here. And I just want you to toss and slide along the ball, and literally you'll slide. You'll feel like you're hitting a lot of spin on the ball, and the ball will go to the left. Notice I am not swinging toward the court. If I do that, the ball goes over there. If I'm aiming there and the ball goes there, I have to aim there and the ball will go there. The ball always goes to the left of where you're aiming. Toss it up. Notice my racket's here. I'm not doing the whole motion. This is what I want you to do. As soon as you work on the grip or learn the grip, this should be one of the first drills you do after watching this video lesson. Put the racket kind of like you're shooting a free throw. Put the racket on its edge. Notice you can see through the strings. Just toss the ball up and slide along the ball. Look, that one didn't even go over the net. So that'll happen. And I'm swinging over to the right. If I were to let go of my racket, watch this, don't actually do this at home, but if I were to just let go of my racket, notice my racket went off the court. That's what I want you to do with your racket path in that drill. I actually want you swinging off the court. Again, the ball doesn't go, and I've said this in many different video lessons, either for you or anyone else I've done. The ball doesn't go where you swing. The ball goes where your strings point. The ball, like this drill illustrates that perfectly. Where's the ball going? The ball's going up. But where's my racket traveling? Right? The ball doesn't go where your racket travels. The ball goes where your strings point. So if I point my strings at the court, but I travel that way, I get spin on the ball, and you can actually see the ball curve. So you're going to start to notice really quickly that you're going to start getting spin on the ball. So don't swing toward your target. The ball will go over there. You now have to swing off to the right, which is why our body, it's so important that we feel like we're turning our back to our opponent, that we're not facing them with our chest, but we're turned. This is why you look at Roger Federer and he's like this, or McEnroe is like this. Like they turn their body. They're not facing forward. Their body is turned because they're going to be swinging off the court. When you set up, the racket should be open. When you started with your strings down and you bounced the ball. No bouncing the ball anymore. You're going to only bounce the ball with your hand, and you're going to set the racket with the strings facing slightly up. This is on edge, where I could balance a coin or a ball on the edge of the racket. There we go, right? Instead of having the racket on edge, I want the racket slightly open. Again, that's going to encourage having the right grip. You can draw this line on your hand, by the way. Draw a line and draw a line on bevel 2, and I'm just lining it up. Right? I don't need to do that anymore because I'm used to it, but you want to learn the right grip, and at first you might have to just put lines on your grip and on your racket. And so now you're here, your body is turned, and I just want you to hit serves, make sure your feet don't move. Notice my toe is still facing off the court. And I'm swinging off the court. I'm not swinging toward my target. I am swinging off to the right of my target because I know the ball does not go where I'm swinging. The ball goes where the strings point. Now, your toss. You are used to a very low toss. A couple reasons why, let me just grab a couple more balls here. There are a couple reasons why, Billy, I want you to toss higher. Yes, it's because I want you to reach higher at contact. But we have to buy ourselves time having that higher toss. So it's going to be really important that we get the toss higher. So I want you practicing a higher toss. You got to keep your arm straight. You'll release around head level. And just when you release, by the way, keep your arm up until the ball bounces. And just toss, keep your arm up. Toss, keep your arm up. Over and over again. Toss, keep your arm up. Many players, they toss and their arm drops. You don't want to do that on a serve. The goal is on the serve, you keep your arm up and then it drops much later in the swing, and we'll talk about that. But keep your arm up. So you want to practice that over and over and over again. Just hold it up. And you want to get used to tossing it up there going, wow, that's a much higher toss than I usually use. Yes, can a toss be too high? Of course. I would rather you just have a toss that maybe is a few inches too high. Even send me videos of you practicing your toss and I'll let you know if your toss is too high. But we got to get that toss in the air to buy yourself time for this swing. Now, now that we got the grip, we've addressed the body positioning, we've addressed getting that toss to go much higher. What I want to do is make sure that you are beginning the ball and the racket together. So you'll remember you had this split where it should be down together. The racket and the ball should go down together and then feel like they're coming pretty much up together too. The ball will lead slightly, but it should feel a little bit like the ball's coming up together with the racket. So down. From the side it looks like this, down. Move the racket down with the ball rather than separating. Down together. Down together. Then serve. Move them down together. Serve. Again, with the grip, with the body sideways, and a higher toss. Down together. Racket and ball, the racket is resting on the ball. Down, then serve. You'll remember the path of the racket you took. From the side, it looks like this. You were here, you bounced the ball, and then you went this way. You went a little bit down, but then straight back this way. Almost like a catapult being pulled back and then pushing. It's got to go across your feet to the back. So my racket's actually going to travel toward the camera or slightly to the left of the camera. It's going to go this way. And the reason, if you remember, the racket, we both had our rackets in a very similar place. You were going back to that point. I was coming into that point, and that's what made it a throwing motion. That's why my serve looks different than yours. It really stems from the beginning. Yes, the grip and the body and the toss, but really the very beginning of your swing where you separate, and then you bring your racket over your shoulder. I want you to feel like you are letting your racket drag across your toes. So you've got your grip body. I want you to drag your racket across your toes, then toss and hit. These are all the drills I want you to do in succession. Racket on the ball, drag the racket across your toes, like I'm actually hitting my shoelaces, then I'm tossing and I'm hitting. Drag the racket across the toes, hit. Going down together, my racket's slightly open. I'm not moving my foot, I'm not moving my feet around. Dragging the racket across my toes. Not that you're actually going to do that, but it's just a way of learning. Drag the racket across your toes, toss, hit. Over and over. That's why I'm doing it over and over. I want to encourage you to do these drills over and over again. Going across your feet is the first step in getting your racket back here. Once you feel comfortable taking the racket across your feet, what you need to learn is how to go across your feet and have your strings point down. This is the hardest thing for amateur players. I'm an amateur too. I don't say that in a condescending way. I don't play tennis, I teach tennis. But I don't want you to be discouraged when you're trying this, because this is going to be the hardest thing. It's the hardest thing for my daughter, to be honest. She's 7. It's the hardest thing for her to get. It's when you toss, having your strings point down. So you're going to need to do this drill. Go across your toes, toss. Do not catch the ball, by the way. Notice I have not caught the ball in the air on any of my practice tosses, but notice my strings are pointing down. I could put a ball in the throat of the racket. Down. Now Federer, when he's in this position, he's like this. I'm like this. It's all the same. It doesn't matter. You just need your strings pointing down. Down. That move right there. And you need to do this drill in your backyard, in the cul-de-sac, in your driveway, somewhere, in the office. And you need to pretend to toss And you need to have the racket around chin height, and the ball could sit in the throat of the racket. So we've got our grip, racket slightly open. We got our feet, not letting our toe face forward and pushing. We're gonna have our body much more sideways to our target. We're gonna go down across the toes. We're gonna toss much higher, and then we're gonna have our racket strings facing down. So it looks like this. It's like I got my shoulder on a friend in a picture at a wedding. And you know what I mean? Like that's like the look. It's like that, it's that. And then there's my racket. That's also the look of someone who's gonna throw a ball, right? It's this, it's not this, and it's not this, it's this. Quarterback throws a football and the football's here. Well, there's the racket, right? That's the look. Again, we're trying to use a throwing motion on our serve. So now is the birthday hat. We've got our grip, we've got our body, we've got our higher toss. This is 3 weeks in. So no need to get a birthday hat for the next 3 weeks after you receive this video, because there's a lot to do before you ever start worrying about a birthday hat. I don't give the birthday hat to people on their first lesson or their second lesson or their third lesson. You have to do foundational stuff. I mean, this is what I do for a living. I just gave the lessons this morning and now I'm doing this lesson. Like, this is what you do. I'm a practitioner of this. It's not just pontificating. This is what I do. If you took a lesson with me here in Pennsylvania, this is what I would do. I would not have you hit the birthday hat until I gave you all these other things. The beauty of the video lesson is I can just bombard you with all the info and you don't have to come week after week. I can just give it all to you and then you can review it week after week on your own time. So I've got my line on my grip in the middle of bevel 2, continental, racket slightly open, rackets on the ball. I'm gonna do the across the feet toss, and then I'm here. I am going to stop here. I am then gonna reach into my pocket. I'm going to toss another ball without moving my racket. I'm gonna toss the ball, knock the birthday hat off, and then hit. So I'm gonna do the whole drill in its entirety. You need 2 balls for the drill. Across my toes, right? Right here, toss, I don't move. Check my racket, strings are pointing down. Good. I don't move my racket. I then toss, and I knock the birthday hat off my head. I'm gonna toss first. Toss, knock the birthday hat off, and then hit. I only have 1 ball, so I need an even number of balls. Here we go. I got 4 now. Bounce only with my hand. Open racket, slightly open. You don't want it like this. Doesn't have to be like Milos Raonic. He's a little extreme. Just a little bit open, little dab will do you, right? Racket's open, racket on the ball. Go down across my toes, toss. Strings are now pointing down. Without moving my racket, I grab another ball. I toss, knock the ball or the birthday hat off my head, and then I hit. Okay, see how that works? So let me explain to you the next idea and why it's so important. When I came around, my racket was like this, and I showed you Federer in that same position. This is so important. As a tennis player, when we are approaching on the serve, we have to get the racket what's called on edge. This is a supinated position. Pronated, supinated, palm in. The reason we want this is because we want to be able to hit side spin. Let me get this little gadget. This is a deconstructed Topspin Pro, and right there is good. So when I hit the tennis ball on the serve, I want to feel like I'm a basketball player with a basketball spinning on my finger. You want to spin the ball like the ball is the earth. Make sure that's in the middle, okay? So I'm trying to spin the ball with a vertical axis, and it's spinning around itself. So it's like the earth, right? Or I guess the earth is tilted, but you got the idea. And so when I hit the ball, Everything I do, from the grip to the body being turned to having my strings pointing down to knocking the birthday hat off my head, leads me to this. I want to be in this with the on edge position, which by the way is why we want a continental grip, because the continental grip gets you like this. Forehand grip gets you like this. So then you're hitting flat. We want spin to control the ball. So we slide along the ball. Now, that is most likely what was occurring, Billy, when you grabbed onto the continental grip for the first time. At the beginning of this on-court part, I just talked to you about just hit some serves with a continental grip, and you're going to notice the ball goes way to the left, but you're going to notice it doesn't feel solid. It's not a solid hit. That's actually a good thing. You don't want a solid hit. People would be shocked. I've always desired to have this. I would love for everyone to be able to take the Rafael Nadal pill, right? Take this pill and you will hit ground strokes like Rafael Nadal. I would love to give that pill to someone, but not tell them it's Rafael Nadal. Just say, hey, here's a pill, take it. There's a player in the world you're going to start playing like. It might be my aunt. It might be Joe from down the street who's got a horrible backhand. You know, whatever, right? You're going to play like somebody. No one's going to take that pill, start hitting ground strokes like Nadal and go, oh my gosh, that feels amazing. Is that like a world-class player? Because the feeling, they'll like how fast they're swinging, but the feeling of the contact, they will not like. It's the same thing on the serve when you start adding spin, because Nadal hits so much spin. That's why I used him as an example. He gets more topspin than anyone in the world. So when you start putting side spin on the serve, it's going to feel junky. You're going to feel like you're framing the ball all the time. That's actually the normal thing that occurs when learning side spin. And it's an acquired taste, if you know what I mean by that, with beer and wine. Like, it's an acquired taste. You learn to like it over time. You will learn to like the feeling and then prefer that feeling over the flat feeling, believe it or not. Because the flat feeling gives you no control. The spinny, kind of junky feeling, actually you start to love because the ball goes in a lot. So what I want you to do is I want you sliding along the ball purposely now with your racket on edge. Remember, we did this. And I just want you spinning the ball as fast as you can. Getting the ball to spin. Now, most likely, if you're swinging toward the court, the ball's going to go over there. So again, you have to get your body sideways and aim that way. That's the only chance the ball is going to go toward the court. Let me get some more balls. So we're just doing this over and over again. Choking up, toss, spin it. The goal is to get the ball to rotate fast. Now, how do we get the ball to go over the net? Well, let's use the Topspin Pro again. When you slide along the ball, what should happen is then the racket faces the other direction. This is called pronation. If I use just my hand, it would be slide along the ball, turn. Slide along the ball, turn. Slide along the ball, turn. And what you're beginning to do is turn your palm out actually as you're hitting. Don't think of it as just hit and then turn. As you're hitting, turn. And since you have one of these, I believe you got a Topspin Pro, just take off the one piece and actually do this drill. Have the bar on the top so it's resting down. It spins better, I've found. And then just slide along the ball, turn. Open hand, slide along the ball, turn. Slide along the ball, turn. And you just want to learn this drill over and over again. This is what gives the power into the ball, because you're firing the racket. You're firing the racket into the ball. You're firing the racket into the hit. You're making that move. So when you're done hitting, you're going to slide along the ball and then turn the racket. Slide along the ball, turn the racket. Slide along the ball, turn the racket. And then you want to start developing that in a smooth manner. I realize I just said I showed you Roger Federer. That was a different video lesson, I just realized. I did not show you Roger Federer. About a couple minutes ago I said Roger Federer. I just realized that was for a student in Virginia. Slide along the ball, turn. Slide along the ball, turn. And again, this can be painful emotionally. I'm just being honest with you. Slide along the ball, turn. You got to do this over and over again. Slide along the ball, turn. Think about in business and in life how far you've gotten, but just think about how long it took you to get there. You know what I mean? Like in every bump in the road and setback you get, there's a reason for it, and it makes you better, and you achieve more because of it. It's like anything in life. I'm not here giving you life advice. I'm just saying it can be frustrating to learn this, and I get it. I went through it. That's why I'm able to do it. Slide along the ball, turn. And you just want to do that drill. Slide along the ball, turn. And you start to learn to turn. Notice that one went over the net. You turn, and you start to turn it at the right time where you still get side spin, but you're hitting with a little more meat into the ball, rather than just sliding along it and then turn. And you start to make that turn at the right time. And if you use the whole swing, and you're gonna wanna, let me grab the birthday hat again. You're gonna wanna do this with the birthday hat. You can start here with the strings pointing down, toss, knock the birthday hat off, slide along it, turn. Strings are down. Toss, birthday hat, slide along it, turn. And you'll learn. And again, you're gonna be sending me videos of you doing all this stuff. Watch this one in slow motion. Right? So that's the goal. The goal is that we start putting all these pieces together, from the grip to the body to the toss going higher, so we have time to have our strings down, knock the birthday hat off, racket comes on edge, we're sliding along the ball. Again, I'm swinging over there. I'm not swinging toward the court. At the moment of contact, I'm swinging to the right. That way I get the ball to spin. My strings face to the target, but I'm swinging off to the right. When you're done, Billy, you're gonna have your left hand in your armpit. You already put the racket here, but your left arm's here. What we don't want is to open up and have the left hand here. We want to keep our body sideways, and that actually comes from a reactive break where we pull this arm in, slows the body down. It helps speed up our racket, but it also keeps us swinging to the right. Players who open up almost always, and their left hand's down here, almost always hit a very flat serve. So what I teach people is the back of your left hand should smell like your right armpit, because you can do this. And just put it right in your armpit. So toss, and you put it in. The left hand, as we talked about, will stay high. The left hand will stay up. You'll toss, it'll stay up, it'll drop, and then you'll tuck it in your armpit. And that, my friend, is the serve. Thank you so much. I'm super excited. The grip. It all starts with the grip. This is a 3, 4 month, 6 month process to own your serve. But I can tell you from where we are right now, it's mid-August. 6 months from now, what is that, February? Your serve will be rocking in February. But this has to be a commitment, like anything. You have to make a commitment. When you make a commitment with time, energy, money, resources, that's when things happen. You got to make a commitment. And I know you are. You're that kind of guy, which is awesome. You got your grip. You got your racket open. Racket resting on the ball. Go down across your toes. So the racket's going to be strings down in the back. You're going to toss higher than you normally do. You're going to knock the birthday hat off your head. You must go out and buy a birthday hat. No excuses. Please go out and buy a birthday hat. Knock the birthday hat off. Come around on edge, and you're going to do that by thinking spin. Then as you hit, you turn the racket to fire the racket. You'll still spin along the ball, but then you fire the racket forward, called pronation. Then you tuck the racket, or tuck the left hand in your armpit. I'm going to serve one final time. It's going to be in slow motion, and I just want you to notice everything we've talked about is exactly what I do. All right, Billy. I love doing these video lessons for you. They're so much fun. So please send me videos in the next couple weeks and months. I want to walk you through step by step. You will never bother me. You will never send me too many videos. I just respond to them when I can, and when I get a moment, I just love firing back some info of what I'm seeing. So thank you again. I really appreciate your support in so many different ways. So thank you. You're just one of the nicest people I've ever met doing this. So thank you again, and congrats on all the awesome accomplishments you two are having in your tennis as a doubles team. So thanks so much, Billy, and I'll hopefully talk to you really soon.